Hello and welcome to the shop. My name is Mike and this is Props to History. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and hit the little notification bell down there in the corner. Oftentimes in film, an art director will approach the prop department and say, make me a thing. Sometimes they're given just some concept art, or they may be given a grand amount of design and detail that they're supposed to put into it, or occasionally it's just a drawing on a napkin. What is the process by which a prop maker goes from sketch or basic material to an actual prop? How does that process work? In the case of this, I made this for an independent sci-fi film about 8 years ago, and it was just supposed to be a pair of binoculars, rangefinders, whatever. Well, I started with a handheld video game, some parts of a camera, and bits off of a 1979 Alien motion tracker. That's how that was built. Oh, and this came from a magazine pouch from Yugoslavia. That is how props get made. It's a process called kit bashing, where you take whatever's at hand and you glue it onto something else. That is a very, very, very simplistic example of what kit bashing is, but that is essentially how it works. And oftentimes when a prop maker is given carte blanche to do whatever they want, that's how it works. But when you have to make one match a design, how do you do that? I am here at Thingergy in Los Angeles, California, a prop and fabrication shop owned by Mr. Frank Ippolito. Hello, Frank.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Now, you've been a prop maker and fabricator for quite a few years now, and you've built this up from, quite frankly, nothing.
Yeah, I moved out here to LA in 2000, so I've been in the industry for about 22 years, and I've had this company like as an official entity for like 7 years. Yeah, and I did just start in my apartment. I moved all of my like bedding and furniture out of my bedroom, and I just set up in the bedroom, and I would sleep on the couch. Yeah. And then I slowly got sick of just in a tiny little apartment, and then I got a live-work loft, and then I got an industrial space that I shared, and then I got my own industrial space, and then I got 3 industrial spaces, and then I moved into this place, and so now 14,000 square feet.
14,000 square feet later, it's much better than a one-bedroom apartment.
Yes.
But you started out as a toy maker, wasn't it, in Ohio?
Well, my first, like, I guess, real job was working for McFarlane Toys in the late 90s as a mold maker. Okay. And that was in New Jersey, and I didn't really like living out there. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I learned a lot, and then I left there and moved out to LA, and my first 10 years out here was mostly doing makeup effects. So I worked on like Pirates of the Caribbean and Chronicles of Riddick, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I worked for all these really great makeup artists like V. Neil and Joel Harlow, and like just learned a ton about, you know, like how the business works. Right. And then around 2010, I started getting enough of my own side projects that I wasn't working for other people. And then around 2015, that's when I like officially started a company.
Now, when you first came out here, did you come out here with work available, or was it a gamble when you came out here that you didn't know if you were going to have work or didn't have anything lined up?
I did have like a short-term job working for a toy company out here as a mold maker. But I also had a couple of friends out here, and as soon as I finished working at that toy company, I got pulled into a shop working on a movie called Reign of Fire. It's this one with all these dragons and stuff. And so I molded... With
Matthew McConaughey in his vest?
Yeah. And so I molded and cast all the dragon maquettes that like Miles Tevis sculpted. Right. There was like 1 or 2 other people that were working on that, Terry Sandin and Brian Blair. But we did that at a shop called Film Illusions. And I stayed there for a couple of years, and then I started bouncing around to other shops, because it's, I mean, this whole industry is freelance. So you just kind of, you're a gypsy and you bounce around.
Now, as an owner of a prop shop like this or fabrication shop, it is just constantly job by job by job by job, isn't it? There's nothing really set up in the long term.
We do a lot of stuff for Disney Imagineering, which is a nice slow, steady, small stream of stuff that just keeps us going in between. But also, I'm not only focused on movie stuff. We do a lot of things for video game industries and like kind of whatever comes in the door. So I'm not only reliant on whatever giant movie is going on at the moment.
And for people who know nothing about the prop industry and how this side of things works, is it pretty much across the board that it's just like almost like piecework generally, pulling in whatever contract you can find?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a little bit different business model and how they like run things. Like a lot of prop shops have a big rental facility, and you know the rental facility helps keep things going in between jobs. But I mean, look, honestly, I can't remember when it's really been dead around here in the past couple of years.
Now, when you get approached by a company to have something made, how does that process start? Do they just call you and say, hey, make me a thing, and send you a drawing? Or is it more to it than that?
Typically, they have a drawing and they say, hey, can you make this?
Oh, so it is just like that.
Yeah, that's usually it. Sometimes we're involved in the concept process. Sometimes there's a little bit of back and forth on how it's going to get made, because a drawing doesn't always necessarily translate into a real thing in the real world. So it kind of depends, but we prefer just getting a drawing and then just building exactly what they want.
Right. Is there anything in your career that you've made that you still look back on and go, I can't believe I made that? That's my work when you see it on screen or think back about it?
You know, there's some stuff for a TV show coming up later this year that I'm really proud of. That's probably one of my favorite things that I worked on. Building some proton packs for Ghostbusters was kind of a dream job for us. You know, huge fans. You know, getting to work for Phil Tippett on Force Awakens and building those stop motion puppets was a total dream job. Working on Pirates of the Caribbean and being in the Caribbean on the Black Pearl and remote controlling Davy Jones's heart, like that was a dream job.
Wow.
I've been fortunate enough to have a whole bunch of like really cool projects.
So there's not really one, it's just there's so much in there.
There's a bunch of them. And I still think that the project that I'm most proud of that we've built has been a set of statues for this video game called Borderlands. We built these 10-foot tall statues of 6 of the video game characters. And it was just this total multimedia experience. We used like literally everything that we do, you know, from CNC milling, 3D printing, sculpting and silicone and wardrobe fabrication, like everything across the board to build these statues. And they're some of my favorite things that we've built.
Now, for somebody who's like from the Midwest, like we both are, that, from my opinion, for a long time, I thought there was no way that I could get into this industry at all. Do you have any advice for folks like that are in flyover states, quite frankly?
I mean, I'm from Ohio, so I totally get it.
Yep.
Like
Indiana.
You know, yeah. There's a lot of people that are really passionate about this and really love this stuff. And if you have the wherewithal to throw caution to the wind and give it a shot, sometimes it takes a while to like get your footing and get into it. But like perseverance is really it. Like, there's a lot of people that'll, you know, if they don't make it in a year or two, you know, fizzle out. There's some people that'll just, yeah, it's just pure determination and stubbornness.
That sounds familiar.
Making more good decisions than bad.
Not familiar. On occasion, props that you see on screen are made from the most mundane of things and oftentimes aren't changed a whole lot from their original form. Here we have an example of this. This is from The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. Spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. But in that, they kill a crate dragon with some bombs. Well, they detonate it with this. This is the detonator used by Mando to actually set off the explosives. Well, it started life as this, and you can see there's not a whole lot of difference between the two. This is actually a 1990s era German army audio alarm. They would connect it to power, and then when you walked in front of this sensor, it would set off a really loud alarm. It's really annoying when it goes off. But that's how they start life. They find a thing, they glue on what are called greeblies, or they attach them somehow, and you have a prop. One of the most famous incidents of a prop being made that was sort of iconic, but also instantly recognizable for what its real world counterpart is, was Qui-Gon Jinn's communicator from Star Wars Episode 1. It started life as a Gillette lady shaver. So Frank, you've worked on a ton of different series, and a lot of them are quite well known, including Stranger Things, yes. Which, for Stranger Things Season 3, you completely designed this decontamination suit, the Russian decontamination suit.
I was working with the costume designer, Amy Paris. Mm-hmm. So I had worked with Amy on Westworld, and I had worked with her on Wrinkle in Time. And then when she started being the costume designer for Stranger Things, she called me up and said, I needed a special costume.
Right.
We started going back and forth with concepts. I must have done 20 just rough sketches and then started zeroing in on stuff and ended up on that. And that was, you know, it's kind of a design by collaboration. You know, she likes this armor part, these colors, this hood with this jumpsuit, just kind of put it all together. Super like basic sketch, like nothing fancy pants. Yeah. And that was it. She got it signed off on, and we started building it.
Now, did you base this on any pre-existing designs from history, or was it just a complete, like, I'm gonna go all new and not concern yourself with that, or?
Like a lot of the Russian stuff from the 80s was more influenced by like the 60s,
right?
Because they were a little bit behind, kind of like design-wise. So I was looking at any kind of military things from like the 60s and 70s. Yeah. And just taking little pieces from here and there, like this is a Russian watch from the 60s, and these were meant to be sort of similar to the, you know, the pouches that were from back then. I don't know, it's movie stuff. We make it all up.
Yeah. No, I know it doesn't have to.
Yeah, like you do what you can to make something feel like it's of the time, and it's not going to be completely out of place. But at the end of the day, we're making it up for Stranger Things.
Right. But one part of this is actually sort of from the 1930s too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little Easter egg on this costume, and if you could come in on this a little bit, that buckle right there. What's that buckle from, Frank?
This buckle was this is a replica. It's an actual metal replica of the ones that were on the Rocketeer pack.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, they're from an old parachute harness.
You know more about it than I do.
Yeah.
Because I've heard all kinds of stories of what they are.
Yeah. And now I know that there's so much stuff that you can't talk about, but is there anything that you're looking forward to in the future that you can talk about that you'll be working on, or is it all just NDA?
No, there's another Star Wars show coming out that we worked on that I'm super excited about. And then Umbrella Academy is coming out in a couple of months, and I'm super excited about that. I've worked on all 3 seasons of that, and I love that whole crew and that whole production there. And I think it's a fun show.
So I get this question a lot. The guy from season 2 with the fish tank for a head.
Yeah, AJ Carmichael.
How was that process done? Like, how was that effect done?
Production actually had us do those designs, and an illustrator named Kyle Brown did all of those designs. We did probably a dozen different versions of it. We built a real, you know, head and tank and stuff like that. It didn't hold water. And we built like a collar that the performer would wear that didn't have the tank on it, and then a bunch of different elements, and then things all got put together in post-production.
So there was quite a bit of practical in that, too.
No, there was a real one. We built that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now with these suits, this is one of the screen used ones, isn't it? Or is this just one of the production made?
This is one of my extras. A lot of times when we build stuff, we'll build a shop copy, and that's partially if we need to reference it for, like, if they need another one and we can't remember how we built it. When costume designers or prop masters come by and they want to see things that we've built, it's nice to have sort of a physical portfolio here. And then there's also a lot of stuff behind the cameras that you guys can't see that are the things that are coming out
in the future.
In the future.
Well, Frank, thank you for taking the time to sort of help people understand how this process works. I really do appreciate it.
Sure.
And if people wanted to find out more about Thingergy, where would they go to look at that?
We're pretty easy to find on the social medias. We've got our websites, thingergyinc.com. Most of our social medias at Thingergy or at Thingergy Inc. Then everything at Frank Ippolito. Like, it's all, we're trying not to be hidden.
Right. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining us. Thank you again, Frank.
Yeah.
Props to history.